Welcome back to Fantasy Football Fam. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm with Mason and Tedder. Say what up, guys.
What's good?
Missed you.
Thanks for joining us. We are 5 days away from kickoff, so we're getting there. Everything is about to go crazy in the fantasy world. Just make sure that you are staying active. If you've already drafted, we got things changing every day. Keep up with the people that are getting hurt. We had some trades happen we talked about last week, so those are going to change some value. There might be some players that are on the free agency that you can pick up and add some additional value to your team. So yeah, just stay active and stay focused. I also want to congratulate the winner of our drawing, Tim.
Well done, Tim.
Welcome to Go Deep.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, hopefully you have fun this year. Hopefully you win some money. But hopefully I win some money more.
Hopefully it's not your only year, Tim. Keep it up.
Yeah. Last place, once again, will get kicked out of the league, Tim. Don't get last place. All right, let's talk a little bit about some preseason news. Unfortunately, J.K. Dobbins hurt his knee. He's out for the season. Unfortunately, I feel bad for him. It was his second year. He was going to get the reins to that backfield, so... We're sorry, JK. Gus Edwards is going to hop up and step in his place. Got to up that guy's value. I'm going to have him right around RB22.
Sure.
He's got limited passing game value, so...
Great runner.
But he's going to get a lot of work on the ground.
Ground transportation, man. He's not so aerial.
Yeah. So they're going to probably throw it to Tyson Williams or Xavier Jones. So keep those guys in mind. As far as Gus goes, I'd probably wait till like Gaskin and Mike Davis are off the board.
Oh, yeah.
That's about where I'm valuing him.
Go there.
Those guys catch plenty of passes. So, yeah, keep an eye out for them first, and then you can go in for Gus.
And then another injury. The Vikings just suffered a loss of Irv Smith with the meniscus surgery. He's not going to be playing this year. They're going to have to go somewhere else for tight end. He was their only guy with Rudolph gone. Bad news for Irv. Bad news for the Vikings.
Yeah. He was looking to have a breakout season.
He was.
I know a lot of people were excited about him this year.
So we'll be waiting on that breakout from Irv.
Sorry, JK. Sorry, Irv.
Let's get to a brighter note with Tedder, I think.
Yeah, I think Tedder's got some good news.
Yeah, so
What's
out
happening?
of the East, like a cool breeze, is Cam Newton. And into the East, like a westerly wind, is Mac Jones.
Oh.
Mac Jones has officially taken the keys to the Lambo that is the New England Patriots. I'm excited to watch
It's
Mac
an expensive
work.
car.
Mr. Mac and Cheese himself. He had a great preseason, and I think they really trust him, so I'm excited to see what he does.
Get it to the back, Mac.
Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah, so Damian Harris might get a little boost in value there.
Yeah, I think all the receivers will probably get a good
Receivers, yeah. I mean, if you looked at the preseason, Mac was the more accurate quarterback, it seemed. Yeah, and another thing, it sounds like Deshaun Watson might get traded. If he goes to a different team, he might actually play. He's a solid quarterback if he's on the field.
Good player.
We will see.
Bad situation.
Yeah. But if he's playing, you're going to want him on your team. So keep an eye out for him. We're also going to talk about some trades here. So just kind of teach you a little bit about trading. I think Tedder's going to take the reins on this for now.
Yeah, I got a couple things. I think the first thing that to remind yourself of is that when you're making a trade, the other team really owes you nothing, right? So if you're going to venture out into the trade world, you want to make sure that both sides are going to end up, making a deal that works out for both, right? If you're a guy that's going to just offer for the best person on another team and you're not offering anything back, then you're just going to waste somebody's time that way, and it's an easy way to get shut down. Another thing that I really enjoy, one thing I really like to use, is a trade simulator. I don't know if y'all know about these trade simulators, but
you showed me that. That was cool.
I know, right? So you go to fantasysp.com. I'm not sure what the SP stands for. Probably sports, maybe not. I'm just making that up. But it's cool. So you can take your players from both sides of the trade, put them in, and it'll value it for you. So obviously people value players differently, but at least it's a good, stepping stone, good place to start. So you know what you're getting out of it, getting into, stuff like that. And then finally, my last kind of tip is, if you have somebody in your league who's just kind of insistent on trading you, be wary of that, because clearly they want something that you have. So you can either go two ways. You can shut it down, or, you can take it the other way, maybe get more value out of them if they really want somebody on your team. So, take it to your advantage and use it how you want to.
Right, just because they want them, it doesn't mean you have to give them to them.
Exactly.
So if they really want them, you could try to get a better price.
Yeah, exactly. What are you thinking, Garrison?
One thing that I really don't like when I'm trading somebody is when they offer me like multiple mediocre guys for like one of my really good guys.
Yeah.
Like 3 bench players or like, flex kind of guys. And they're trying to get like one of my starting running backs or something.
That strengthens their trade. If
Right.
But
steepers
for a keeper.
Yeah, like it's a stud for the most part.
Yeah.
You might be able to get a little better stud if you offer something else on the back end, but people don't want to. You can only play one person in one position. So downgrading an entire section of your team, that slot, your RB1 or your RB2, you can't play 3 guys in that position.
Exactly.
So don't do that. Don't be that guy or girl. And you can draft. This is another thing that I like to do is you can draft with the intent of trading somebody. I'd like to draft a lot of running backs and wide receivers. I've said that before. Those guys get hurt real easy. They get hurt all the time. So if you do that and maybe you don't have the best tight end. Maybe you are lacking in the quarterback department. But other people's running backs and wide receivers are going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. And you have a bunch extra, so you can trade them and you can get those guys that you missed out.
Value's high at the beginning of the year for everyone because the health is there.
Right, yeah. So, people are going to get hurt. That's like a fact of fantasy and football. Yeah, so you got to be – you can think about that in advance, and that's why I like to draft a lot of running backs and wide receivers. Maybe my starting lineup doesn't look that good at the beginning, but by the end of the season, I'm able to fill in those extra spots that I missed out on in the draft.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Mason, you got some tips up for us?
I sure do.
Yeah.
I like to trade. But you got to be willing to haggle. You got to be willing to give up someone you'd prefer not to if you want to get a player that you really want. And sometimes you got to be able to give up a top guy to get a bunch of second-tier guys that are going to do it for you.
That's what you want. Yeah, you got to make those trades sometimes. And I traded Christian McCaffrey last year.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to.
When we take these like stabs at on players that we're going to maybe be riding on our bench that are starting to put up more and more points throughout the year, those guys become really good trade stock. So I like to even consider them like once I consider putting them into my lineup and I'm not really finding a spot for them, I should move them for someone I'm going to put in my lineup. So that's another thing I love trades for. You rarely get it right on the first trade offer. You're going to have to make 2 or 3 before you guys both come to terms. It's like they say about compromises, but in fantasy football, I think if you do it right, both sides can actually be a little bit happy at the end.
I found that talking to people a little bit and like asking them who they value more, you can kind of understand where they're at with certain players, and then you can kind of be like, oh, you value that guy way more than I do, so let's take him out of the trade. Mm-hmm. Let's do somebody else.
You kind of learn who they like based on their offers and use that to your advantage, but also, don't try to trick anyone. I don't like vetoing trades unless there's obvious collusion. You don't know what people need for their teams. So if they're trading 4 players for Dalvin Cook and you don't really care for those 4 players and they go on to win a championship because Dalvin Cook's not in the championship because he rarely is, they know what they're doing.
I did have kind of one more point I wanted to make when it comes to trades is if you want to be respectful of, other members in your league whenever you're about to ask for a trade, one thing I always like to do is ask a player who their untouchables are. Say, hey, who on your team can I not trade for? Right. So they don't come off as an arrogant a-hole offering for the number 1 player on their team, right? So, because, some guys may be touchable, some may not be. So it's always good to ask.
Yeah, some people really like certain dudes. Mm-hmm. And one other thing about trading is just if you do draft like a lot of running backs and wide receivers and that you're trying to trade, you might need to wait until they take the field. People don't really know how good they're going to be. Mm-hmm. They want to see them in game action before they want to try to trade for them. So you might have to be a little patient. Maybe a couple weeks in, you can start trying to trade people. Mm-hmm. And next up, we are going to talk about some undervalued players. I know people are doing some drafts this weekend and next week. So we just wanted to get some undervalued players that we feel like maybe should be going a little bit higher that you might be able to find a little bit later, or you should be drafting them earlier, but they're going later. So hopefully you can get that draft value. The guy I want to talk about first is Jonathan Taylor. Okay. I love Jonathan Taylor. I know some guys aren't quite as high on him. I believe I had him ranked 6th overall. I just watched his highlights from last year, and I think you should too. If you really are thinking about Jonathan Taylor, just watch the highlights.
Tease the tape.
The guy's field vision is off the charts, man. It's like he knows exactly where to go, and he's got such good blocking that if you've got that field vision, like, I was so impressed. I was really so impressed. It's like, if he can do, like, build on this and the blocking, it's probably going to be similar. Obviously Quentin Nelson might not start week 1, but they've got some really good offensive linemen there. And if he can find those holes and make it through, I think the sky's the limit for this guy. So I got him right at the bottom of that top cream layer we were talking about of running backs, right at 6, so I don't think I'm drafting those other guys before him. I don't think I'm drafting him before those other guys. So, you got Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Zeke, I think, is the last guy I would draft above him. I could understand, you still want to get Barkley or Kelsey or even Adams before him. I totally get that. But that's just, I just feel like he's got that.
Don't let Jonathan slip too much because you're going to regret it.
I think so. I think so. So, yeah, keep an eye on him. Another guy I want to talk about is Antonio Brown.
Big chest AB.
Yeah, so Antonio Brown's going 103rd, which is just far too low in my opinion.
I bet he's appalled to know that.
Well, he used to be a first-round fantasy draft pick.
And he's so level-headed.
Yeah, Antonio, known for his level-headedness. Yeah, so
high level of play.
High level of play. I know in Pittsburgh he was like the number 1. He's the number 3 now, which is crazy. But he's dirt cheap. Dirt cheap.
Steeper cheap.
And you're gonna tell me that Antonio Brown's gonna get the 3rd best cornerback on the defense?
No.
Give me that. Give me all of that. Okay, I'm in there. I'm gonna try to get some Antonio Brown this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Tedder, you want to talk about a couple guys you got?
Yeah, starting off with one of my favorite players to watch, Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham currently is ranked in the mid-30s receiver overall, which is just absolutely disrespectful to OBJ. If this man comes out of the season healthy, like I'm hoping he will be, there are not 30 guys I think better than him. He is better than a lot of guys that are ranked higher than him if he's healthy. And Cleveland is known to throw the ball a little bit. I obviously like to pound the rock with Nick Chubb and Kamara Hunt, but if he is healthy, he will be the clear number 1 in Cleveland. Then another guy who's a little bit further down on the list is Emmanuel Sanders. He's ranked right now 174 average draft position, which probably sits about right for him, but he's going to be playing in a pass-heavy offense with old Josh Allen slinging him the rock. And the cool thing about Sanders is that he's still very consistent at the age of 34. He gets the job done. Whenever they were all on the field outside of Diggs, he did warrant the most targets out of him, Beasley, and Gabriel Davis, so that's one thing to look out for, so he will get the ball. And with the COVID stuff going on, you never know. He could slide up into one of those roles if he has to, and I'm just a big Emmanuel Sanders fan. He's an ex-Bronco, so my heart is still with him a little bit. So, yeah, Mr.
He runs those routes.
He does. He's a crisp route runner.
Yeah, crisp.
I mean, he's always been awesome. Yeah, fantasy-wise. Gotta love him. And he's going really, really cheap.
Yes.
People have forgot about him.
Yeah.
Mason, what you got?
Well, I got a guy that I have learned about recently and am a little bit ashamed that I didn't know his name before. He did go undrafted last year. His name is Marquez Callaway. My goodness, watch this man. He is going to put up fantasy points this year. I don't even know how low he's going. 133rd? Way too low. That's why he's undervalued. Keep an eye on Marquez Callaway.
Especially if you could buddy him up maybe with Michael Thomas.
He's a big, fast receiver. He almost looks like a more built DeAndre to me. So I'm watching him. And then the next guy I had is kind of someone who's going to be overlooked, not even get drafted, Anthony Ferkser. Now that the tight end situation has cleared up a little bit in Tennessee and Jonnu Smith is gone. Ferkser put up some good games last year, and I don't think that's going away. They have Swaim there, but Swaim's always been more of the blocker. Ferkser was showing his good hands last year. He's got a good-sized body. I think he's going to be a fantasy-relevant player this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, maybe get some real light coverage with those two really good wide receivers.
Well, yeah, Jonnu, I don't know. He's not going to be tied in one, but Ferkser might be a plug-and-play.
Maybe like a late-round guy that, maybe some upside. We'll see.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm going to be watching him.
Yeah, don't ignore him by any means. Another guy you shouldn't ignore is Mecole Hardman. He's going 147th, guys.
Really?
Yeah, and when you're in the 13th round of your draft, you can't really draft a guy that you were like for sure is gonna score like 10 points. Like that, what's that really gonna do for your squad? You should look for a guy like Mecole Hardman that maybe isn't gonna do that good, but could take over that second wide receiver role in Kansas City and run with it.
On a team with a good coach, Andy Reid, just like Marquez with Sean Payton.
Good quarterback. Like those are the things you need to look for when you're going later in the draft. He may not score consistent points, but I don't think you're gonna find a better ceiling guy around there.
And go deep. Mecole is gonna be a guy that's played.
Oh, definitely in go deep. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
he'll be worked.
He had 62 targets last year, which was more than Robinson. Demarcus Robinson had less targets and less yards. One of these guys we're thinking is going to emerge eventually, and we're hoping it's this year. And I think the bet is on Mecole Hardman. That's the bet I'd make.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Same.
He's no Tyler Boyd out of Cincinnati. Still going way too low. Always going too low, my Tyler Steep.
Yeah. Tyler's going, where's he going?
85?
85? Yeah. I think, like we talked about Tyler, keep an eye on Tyler.
147, that's value too. Keep an eye on Mecole.
Right, yeah. Just keep an eye on these guys. There might be some value you can find later on in the draft or early on, just some guys to keep in mind. All right, so next up we have a question. It was asked on YouTube by Max N. You want to go ahead and take it away?
Reading it out loud on the show.
Hopefully not.
Hey guys, I love stocking up on running backs and wide receivers, so I try to grab tight ends and quarterbacks later in the draft. However, the last couple years I neglected those positions a little too much by waiting too long, and those weak roster spots really hurt me. I want to prioritize them more this year, but I'm not willing to use the high draft pick necessary to grab the top few players at those positions, like Kelsey, Kittle, Waller at tight end. We got Mahomes, Allen, and Murray at quarterback. Who are some mid-tier options you like for 2021? Along those same lines, what do you think of Logan Thomas in Washington and Robert Tonyan in Green Bay? Will they be able to repeat their success from last year and finish in the top 5 again, or will they regress? Thank you, Max, for your question.
Thank you, Max.
No one can blame you for wanting all those pile-pushing pylon pounders, toe-tapping turf terrors. We all want them. There used to be the only 30-point guys in fantasy football until these Michael Vick types came around. Luckily, in the middle rounds, you can still find amazing value for those positions, tight end and quarterback. I would aim for rounds 5 to 8. Personally, I think Tonyan and Thomas are both going to have top 5 caliber seasons, so can't go wrong with either one of them. And the quarterbacks I think you should look for in those rounds would be Russell Wilson, who we mentioned on the show, Justin Herbert, who we didn't get to, Lamar Jackson, who we didn't get to, but Trevor Lawrence. These are guys that are going to be in that mid-tier that I think are going to be putting up a little extra on the points end. And Tedder had something he wanted to talk about, a specific player. What player on what team could Tedder be thinking about over there?
Ooh, it's a crapshoot. Just kidding. It's Noah Fant from the Broncos. Who would have guessed that I would be taking another Bronco on another segment of another week of Fantasy Football Fam.
We love it.
Noah Fant is absolutely being disrespected when it comes to average draft position for tight ends. He is a back-end tight end number 1 who will warrant a lot of targets, especially with check down Teddy taking the helm of the Broncos. He's 6'4", 250, runs like a 4.5. He's just an absolute matchup nightmare. So if you have a chance to grab Noah Fant, go ahead and take him.
Good luck with Tedder in your league.
Because if you're in my league, you're not going to have a chance at him. So if you're not, go get Noah Fant, please. You won't regret it.
Oh, yeah. Tedder, I cannot blame you for loving Noah Fant. I know you're kind of like a hometown guy. You love your Broncos, but Noah Fant's got some talent.
Definitely.
We'll see, and Teddy Bridgewater might be looking for him.
Oh,
yeah. I like Logan Thomas a lot this year. I know that's one of the guys you brought up. I'm gonna keep an eye on him. If I can get him in a good spot, I'm definitely going for him. I think he's probably my main mid-round target for tight end. Tonyan, I definitely like too. He's going later, and I think he's worth where he's going. The one thing I would say is I don't think he's going to get as many touchdowns as he did last year. He had 11, and he had 50 some.
That's hard to repeat.
That's hard to repeat. Touchdowns are harder to repeat. And there's a lot of guys there too. They got a lot of receivers. They got Aaron Jones. there's a lot to go around. So I just don't know if he's going to do the same thing he did last year.
You don't think the Packers are just going to put up 45 points a week?
I hope so.
20 of them going to Tunyon.
I hope they do, but I just don't.
That's what I want.
I can't 100% say
but
that.
If Tunyon's on my team, yeah.
I like Tunyon. So if I can get him a little later, I'm looking for those guys like 6 to 8 rounds. And some other options to consider as far as QB goes, Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts where he's going. You're looking for a mid-round guy. That guy's got a lot of upside. If those receivers can come through for him, that line can hold up. He's going to get some rushing yards. Mm-hmm. He's got a cannon.
Better players, too.
Yeah, he's a bold guy, too. He throws down the field. Yeah, so if he stays healthy, the one thing I would say about Jalen Hurts, if you get him, grab another quarterback at the end of the draft, a Ben Roethlisberger,
Matt Ryan,
Ryan Fitzpatrick, Baker Mayfield. Yeah, those guys will be good, just in case, he gets hurt or, the Eagles just, can't move the ball. Those are options. And then Tyler Higbee. I think a lot of people kind of pushed him by the wayside, but Matthew Stafford loves to throw to his tight ends. He really does.
Stafford effect.
The Stafford effect, and they got like I said with Tunyon, they got a couple other guys, but they don't have too many other guys that are going to soak up those targets, those touchdowns. So I could see him scoring a lot. Mm-hmm. So I'd keep an eye on Tunyon. Another thing is I wouldn't turn a blind eye to those top guys. I'm pretty similar. I like to load up on running backs and wide receivers. But if one of those top QBs or tight ends falls a little bit, I'm jumping all on that, man. You got to, and it's up to you, but that's just kind of what I do, If I see that value, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, go for it.
So if you guys have any more questions, you could send it to our social media. You could do a video question. Just ask us in the comments, whatever you want to do.
Keep in mind, we're going to feature you.
We are going to feature you, We like to bring up these questions. They're good questions,
They are. Yeah, especially if they're a good question. Mm-hmm. You can't help it.
Other people are going to want to know, too. A lot of people, other people are going to be wondering the same thing. All right. So it's time to do some super deep info about Go Deep. We got everybody filled out. I just want you all to remember that this is a 2-keeper league, okay? 2 keepers. So keep that in mind. Draft accordingly. And we're going to talk about some super deep targets for our super deep league. One person I wanted to remind you of is Latavius Murray. I think especially in a league as deep as a 16 team, I keep an eye out for him. Dude can be serviceable even with Alvin Kamara in, and if he goes out, the sky's the limit for Latavius Murray. Another running back I like, Boston Scott. He's right behind Miles Sanders.
He had some big moments as a fill-in before.
Yeah, he's proven that he can play well. He's a good pass catcher. He had a really long touchdown run in the preseason. Don't want to give too much weight to that. But yeah, he does bring that pass catching value. And you might even be able to play him with Miles Sanders still there in a super deep league. Running backs become quite scarce. So I'd keep an eye out for him. What about you, Ted? I know we agreed on one guy, one of my Packers as far as the super deep goes.
Oh yeah, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, MVS. I think he's going to be a guy that will warrant a lot of targets from old Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams can't do it all, so I see MVS having some value as a deep guy. A few other guys that I have, the guy I talked about at the top of the segment, Mac Jones. I think he could be a guy later on in the season if he gets it rolling in New England. He could be a guy worth taking late or picking up, as a free agent type guy. Jacoby Myers, a guy that he'll be throwing to in New England. I think had a really great preseason. Big dude, good, great target, good hands. I think he'll be another guy that just keep your eye on. And then finally, another guy, new area, new environment that I think might be all right. Sam Darnold. A lot of people are sleeping on Sam Darnold. He's had a really good preseason.
Yeah. He's got a good teammate on his team.
He's got some great dudes to throw to.
2 wide receivers that are studs. I like those guys.
And that's a running back he can dump it off to that'll get him some old yak.
I would like to throw it to Christian and then see him just pile yards onto my stats.
Exactly. So know that there are guys that you can take late. So don't, sleep your way through the last rounds of the draft because you can find value there if you look for it.
Especially in those deep leagues, you're really looking for deep value.
Definitely.
Think outside the box.
Yeah. Tedder, I just got to agree with you on MVS, man. I absolutely love this guy in super deep leagues. Even 12-team leagues, you can get him at the very end of the draft.
You don't say.
I had to put a Packer in here. I got to promote a Packer.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about the other ones. now you're going to know about MVS. I know if you watched him last year, especially if you're a Packer fan, it was kind of hard to see him have no interest in catching any balls. But do you guys remember Davante Adams?
How could I forget Davante Adams?
Yeah.
Too early on his ship.
Mason was on him, but when he was dropping balls, but you know what? He stopped dropping balls. And the fact is that when he stopped dropping balls, he became a 2x4. He became a stud. You know? And MVS gets open like Davante Adams. Not on the same level, but, you know, down the field, he's hard to cover. And he's always
a hibernating
open.
Stud.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get to Davante Adams' level, but I do see him having some solid fantasy value if he can start pulling these balls down. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people on that team that are going to soak up some coverage, and then Aaron Rodgers is going to find him if he gets open. So keep your eye out for MVS, especially in super deep leagues. And so we are going to ask you to follow us on our Instagram and our Twitter at FantasyFBFam. If you have some video questions, you can send them into fantasyfbfam@gmail.com. If they're shorter than a minute, you could also send them into our IG. But yeah, if you don't want to do a video question, you can send them to us too, okay?
Yeah, definitely. Good luck this week with everyone's drafts.
And good luck with your season.
And thanks for spending time with us today.
See you next week, fam.